Hi, and welcome to Book Chat, a quick little video where staff from the Skokie Public Library talk about what they hope to read, what they have been reading, and books that they have loved. I'm Allison, I'm an advisory librarian, and joining me today we have Jimmy, and then as always, we have Becca. Anyways, to get us started, I am going to talk about the Black Panther Party. And this is written by David F. Walker and illustrated by Marcus Kwame Anderson. I recently watched Judas and the Black Messiah. It's a historical drama about Fred Hampton, who was the chairman of the Illinois branch of the Black Panther Party, and the FBI informant who betrayed him. The movie is fantastic. It's affecting and it's sadly relevant. And also, you can put a hold on it over at the library. And afterwards, I found myself wanting to learn more about the Black Panther Party, which is how I found this book, which was just published in February of this year. It engagingly and provocatively covers a lot of ground. It depicts key events, and there are single pages dedicated to key members of the party, all while providing historical and political context. I think the art perfectly depicts the emotions and the tensions of the time. I've learned a lot, and I found myself rethinking and examining my own perceptions of the Black Panther Party, including the why behind my seemingly preconceived notions. So I highly recommend this one. I'm really intrigued. I'm going to seek out more information about the Black Panther Party. Specifically, I want to learn more about the women who were key players in the party. But that's all for me. I'm going to send it on over to Jimmy now.
Thank you. I'm adding both that movie and that book to my list. And look at us with our color coordinating book covers. That's exciting. Hi, I'm Jimmy. I'm the experiential learning lead. And most of what I do at the library is related to the studio, which is the future makerspace of the Skokie Public Library. So the book that I'll be talking to you about today is called Game Changer. It's a better shot. It is by Neal Shusterman, who is one of my favorite authors. And this book was actually also just published in February. So look at that, more things that we can connect on. And the book follows a character named Ashley. It's a boy, but he goes by Ash. And it's interesting because he lives in a diverse community. He happens to be white. He's on the football team. And he says towards the beginning of the book that his team is a pretty good combination of people who happen to be Black, people who happen to be white, and people who happen to be Latinx. He said it was interesting that his team has a fairly accurate representation of his community. And he thinks he has a lot of his boxes checked, how he is, not racist. He has, diverse friends. He's from a diverse community. But there is a few disconnects that he kind of navigates through towards the beginning of the book, and that he kind of realizes some mistakes that he's made, and he kind of has a really interesting learning journey. And this is a little bit more of a science fiction book in the sense that Ash, who is on the football team, can tackle people so hard that he enters new dimensions, which I think is kind of interesting. And so when he enters new dimensions, he's seeing those dimensions from another person's perspective. So he's kind of seeing where society has changed, whether it be from olden times or newer times. He enters the body of a character who happens to be a woman in an abusive relationship, so he learns from her perspectives. And throughout the story, it's a very innovative approach because you not only understand how narrow Ash's perspective may be because of his experiences and his current situation, but also the narration is very powerful because it kind of gives you the broad sense and kind of bridges the gap between what is Ash's perspective and what the actual situation may be. I think it's really almost a perfect time to read a book like this in kind of what 2020 exhibited and what we've seen in early 2021. And I don't exactly know when you'll be watching this video, but if you're watching it around the time it was released, I think it's an absolutely perfect book to read. I think it really helps you check your own biases and learn from what privileges you may or may not receive throughout life and what your experiences may be. It also kind of helps you kind of take a perspective and kind of appreciate other people's perspectives. And truthfully, as much as this is a young adult novel, I am not a young adult, and I think it is, I guess I'm sort of a young adult. I'm not a teenager, but I think it is just a really great story that kind of gives you a perspective from multiple different directions. I think I went to an author talk with Neal Shusterman, and he kind of talked about how different people were interested in the story because they were like, okay, I can relate to this part of the book, but I learned something completely different from this side of the book, which is not always the case. And I think it's just a really fun story. It has a really cool cover, and I really like it. And I think you should read it. And we can talk about it if you want. It will be fun. But that's all I've got, and I'm going to pass the torch on to Becca. So thank you so much.
Jimmy, thank you. That was lovely. Schusterman is one of my favorites as well. You have Scythe behind you. You didn't mention it, but I that is one of those books that never fails me in terms of recommendations when someone is looking for sci-fi dystopian YA. I just think it's so good, and he's such a good writer, and he has such a great expanse of writing available, and most of it is YA. I don't think he's written beyond that. I don't know if he has any adult novels or not, but they're certainly readable by adults. So and I was not even like a new adult when I read them. I was also far removed from the YA place and they're just so well written, and he is such a lovely human because I've had the opportunity to meet him as well. So we have that going on. I'll talk more about my love for Schusterman another time, I'm sure. So I'm breaking the mold today. My book is not orange or red. It has a little bit of it on there. I don't have it with me because I read it virtually. And mine was published in February, but February of 2020. So like I didn't get any of the memos about today, but that's okay. Because this is a book that I just finished. And in fact, I was a little late reading reading The Vanishing Half for our book discussion this week when we were starting to make questions for our discussion, because I had to finish this book before I could start Vanishing Half. Which we talked about in another book chat. So go listen to that one. But for this particular book chat, I'm going to be talking about The Sundown Motel, which is by Simone St. James. It's a thriller suspense novel. There is a supernatural element to it as well. So one of the things, I'm not sure where I heard about this, but I have a feeling because the dedication includes a dedication to murderinos. So if you are a fan of My Favorite Murder, it is a book for you. To me, it is, I just went to a book talk with an author who has a book coming out in June. And she was describing her book, and she said, if my book had a party, this is who she would invite. And so that was like fresh in my brain, and I thought it was a really cool way. So I was thinking about if the Sundown Motel had a party, who would they invite? And they would invite Sadie, which is a YA novel, kind of in a podcast form. They would invite, of course, My Favorite Murder. They would invite The Twilight Zone, and they would invite Hitchcock, I think. So that kind of gives you a sense of where this book is coming from. Much like Sadie, it is a book that goes between two different points of view and two different time periods. It all takes place in a small town in upstate New York called Fell. It goes between 1982 and I believe 2017, but like modern days. In 1982, Viv Delaney left Illinois, and ended up in Fell and kind of just stayed there. And then she ended up disappearing. And so all of these years later, her niece, after her mom has passed away, feels compelled to go and find the story of her aunt and find out what happened. So she finds herself in Fell, and like a lot of things start clicking into place, but also a lot of really strange things start happening. And so she is working at the same motel that her aunt worked at, which is the Sundown Motel. And this is a place that's like, imagine, this is not Schitt's Creek, right? This is like the dingy side motel that like you only stay at if like there's no other option and you've run out of gas and you haven't slept in 3 days, and like it's that kind of a motel, not like a charming roadside motel. Viv is working the same shift, or Carly is working the same shift that her Aunt Viv worked. and like just weird stuff starts happening. Weird people are all associated with this. And it's just like, I don't want to give too much away because part of the beauty of this book is like the twists and the turns and the surprises of it. But that's just to say, like, it was super compelling. I am not a person who loves horror, with the exception, I really loved Mexican Gothic, and it had, I think Mexican Gothic could come to the party too, because it has a similar like, what's going on, dark, dingy, creepy kind of vibe, like what's the history here, how did we get here kind of feeling to it. So yeah, I highly recommend this book. The audio is fabulous if you are a listener of books, but I'm sure that it would be just as compelling in print. So that is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Especially thank you, Jimmy, for taking the time to chat about books with us. We really appreciate it. If you want to find these books, there will be links below to everything we've talked about today. If you need help accessing these books electronically, or any of the thousands of books that we have available, send us an email at matchmanagers@skokielibrary.info, and we're happy to help you however we can, or call us or chat us, or however, you know, the myriad of ways that we have for you to get in touch with us. And until next time, please enjoy these great books and know that we miss you and we can't wait to talk books in person with you. And take care. Goodbye.